Good morning, I'm WaywornWyrm, and welcome to my channel. And welcome back to another episode of the Monster Manual Backward. Today, we are finishing Appendix B with the Veteran. Now, the Veteran could be under a bunch of different episodes in Appendix B, but for a bunch of reasons, I thought it'd be best to end Appendix B here with just talking about the Veteran. So, let's get into it. The Veteran is a medium humanoid, any race, any alignment, with 17 armor class due to his splint mail armor, 9d8 plus 18 hit points, which averages out to 58, 30 feet of movement, 16 strength, 13 dex, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 11 wisdom, and 10 charisma. Skilled in athletics and perception with +5 and +2. A passive perception of 12. Can speak any one language, usually common, and challenge rating 3. So the actions of the Veteran are a multi-attack, where the Veteran can make 2 longsword attacks. If it has a short sword drawn, it can also make a short sword attack. And it can make a longsword attack, +5 to hit, 1 target, 1d8 plus 3, or 1d10 plus 3 slashing damage. And the d8 versus the d10 depends on if it's being wielded in one or both hands. Also has a short sword, +5 to hit, 1d6 plus 3 piercing damage, and a heavy crossbow, +3 to hit, range 100/400, does 1d10 plus 1 piercing damage. Veterans are professional fighters that take up arms for pay or to protect something they believe in or value. Their ranks include soldiers retired from long service and warriors who never served anyone but themselves. Before we get into talking about how I would change the stat block, the Veteran looks to me like it is at least level 5, but less than level 11 fighter, with the fighting style of 2-weapon fighting. And I say that for a couple reasons. Number one, it obviously has the extra attack that most, I think actually every melee combat primary class gets at level 5. So we're talking about the fighter, the barbarian, the paladin. I think the ranger also gets it. But the rogue doesn't. Nor do the bard or things like that. But why I think it's specifically the fighter and they took the 2-weapon fighting is because if you look at the short sword, which is designed to be the offhand weapon, it still gets the strength damage, which if it did not have the 2-weapon fighting ability, it would only do 1d6 damage. So there we go. And therein lies how I would change a Veteran. Well, I would also, of course, give them a race, because, as I've said in all of these episodes so far, although this is the last episode I'm going to say that, giving any of these stat blocks a race is the easiest, quickest way to differentiate one Veteran, Veteran A from Veteran B. And obviously, if you're looking to make a harder combat encounter, you're going to go with like the half-orc, the Goliath, the dwarf. Humans wouldn't make bad veterans. They would get a +1 to dex, +1 wisdom, if you went with the non-variant, or if you went with the variant, you would get a feat which would be the important one, and there are a ton of feats that will help fighters. So that's one thing. The other big thing I would do is I would go to the fighter class and I would give it a few different. I would give it a different fighting style. I would take away, say, great weapon fighting, and maybe two weapon fighting, and possibly give great weapon fighting. Change out the long sword and short sword for a great sword or a two-handed axe or something. With great weapon fighting, when you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for attack that you make with a melee weapon you are wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll the die. And you must use the new roll even if it is a 1 or a 2. So what that is going to do is going to give you a massive range, a much better chance of not doing minimal or close to minimal damage. Or maybe dueling, where if you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls. There's one that will just up his AC by 1. There's archery, and have the veteran either keep the heavy crossbow and have that their main weapon, or give them a different ranged weapon. And what archery does is you get +2 bonus to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. That's awesome. Or there's also protection, which allows you to impose disadvantage on an attack roll when a creature you see attacks a target other than you that is within 5 feet of you. You have to have a shield. So you'd probably want to get rid of the short sword, give him a shield, which will bring his armor class up to 19. Which also, just giving the veteran a shield, what that will do is make him a slightly better low-level boss. So the veteran, as written, is going to average just a second. Okay, I am back. I just did the math. It's going to be about 10 damage around, averaged out. And how I did that average was 3 attacks, 2 with a longsword and 1 with a short sword. And the average damage for that, the longsword's going to do 7. So the 2 longsword attacks, if they hit, they're going to average out to 14 damage, with the short sword doing 6 damage. So on average, if a veteran hits all 3 attacks in a turn, it's going to do 20 damage. However, with a +5 to hit, most low-level ACs are going to be in the ballpark of about 15. So the veteran will have about a 50-50 chance of hitting. So you divide the total damage, the total average damage in a turn by the chance to hit, gets 10. So the veteran, as written, is going to average about 10 damage a round, with your average party that is less than 3rd level hitting about 40% of the time. 50% of the time. So both sides are going to be hitting about half of their attacks. If you give the veteran a shield, what that is going to change is the veteran will average about 7 damage per turn rather than 10. But your normal party is only going to be hitting about 40% of the time instead of 50. And depending on what feats you end up, or fighting styles you end up giving the veteran, you can change it even more. Like you could do, you give him the defense, which defense plus a shield is going to end up with 20 AC and drop your normal party's chance of success down to 35%. So, and with 58 hit points, the veteran should last several rounds against a full party on his own. So, he would be a really great boss for the first one or two adventures. And that's one of the ways I'd use a veteran, especially as a combat encounter. I would probably have the veteran as the leader of whatever group they've been attacking. And especially at that point, if he is a leader at the end of a dungeon or a big battle, he's either going to join the battle, which will make the battle that much harder. So, like, if it's a camp, sometime during the fight where they're taking out the, say, thugs, maybe the veteran has a bunch of thugs, or bandits, or tribal warriors, and as the party starts getting the upper hand in that battle, the veteran comes out. Or, which would then make it a really hard battle. Or if you want to break it up into two different encounters, or more than two, have them battle all of the minions, and then their resources are pretty close to spent when they then get this single tough enemy. And that's actually probably mostly how I'd use a veteran, as written. Other ways, as they get a little higher, the veteran will probably be like a guard captain or something like that. Or will hang out with knights. Actually, it'd probably be a knight and several veterans. Let me flip to the knights page real quick to double check that. Yeah, they're about the same, so veterans and knights would hang out. Or in the starting town, the gruff old man that they like, he's a former campaigner. He is a veteran. He's either been a former soldier or a mercenary or a bounty hunter. But he's fought in a lot of battles, and now he's retired to this small village that your party is starting in. And as levels go up much past like 5, I probably wouldn't have a veteran anymore. At least not as combat encounters. And the veteran stat block, like a lot of these stat blocks, are primarily about how you fight them. He has no bonuses in any of the mental skills, except perception. He gets +2 to perception, so woo! The veteran just becomes obsolete fairly early on, and I would start using the veteran in situations where you don't even really need stat blocks. There are a lot of social encounters. If there's going to be no chance of fighting, let's rephrase that. If there's little chance of fighting, if the party has no reason to fight, that might not stop them. Yeah, that's what we might do. So that is the veteran. Tune in soon, where we start going into Appendix A of the Monster Manual backward. And there'll be more videos coming out very soon. I have several that are nearing completion, including one that is very different from my other videos, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to post that. I'll find out.